Good morning, folks. A very good morning to each and every one of you, wherever you guys are joining us from, and welcome to FYI. It's the end of the week. Believe it or not, it's the end of the week, and we are delightful that we are delighted that you guys are here. That's good to have each and every one of you on the live with us, good folks. Good to have you all on board. We ask as soon as you come, you share the live and you smash that emoji button. How has the night been, folks, since our last broadcast? We're happy Leon Blair from Facebook is the first one. Faye Robinson follows, Vashti Magnot and Rupert Edward Brooms is here as well, and Faye and Debbie Apple and all the other folks that makes up the gang. We're happy that you guys are here with us. Great to see each and every one of you. It's begun to rain a little bit on the outside. We trust that it's warm and dry wherever you folks are joining us from. We got a live shot of the Demerara Harbor Bridge. It's wet outside, as you can see there. And guys, if you're traversing this corridor or you're in the central Georgetown, I don't know how it's on the outskirts, but be careful on the road, especially when it's wet. You gotta exercise even more caution on the roadways when it gets like that. That's a live shot, compliments of Pixel Guyana Inc. of the Demerara Harbor Bridge for you guys. Live shot there. We're thankful wherever you all are joining us from. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How are you folks doing this morning? And let us know if you hear our audio loud and clear. Please do let us know. It looks good at our end. It sounds good at our end. Claire Capel, good to have you join us. Yolanda Thomas, Roderick Henry, good to have you as well. And Claudette Bobby Lewis, good to see you. Utindi Grant, we see you as well. Good to have Ann Webb here too. Ann Webb says she's watching from Queens. Good to have you. Good to have Queens in the house. Good to have you. Yep, Diane Fordyce is here, and Debbie Collins says loud and clear. Good morning, Debs, folks. We hoping that the power holds. You all know the conundrum, the purgatory we were in yesterday morning. Leon Blair, good to see you. Donna Joseph and Ayabo, Natasha Congraves, all the other folks joining us this morning. Folks, as you come, I know once you get into the program, you get locked in, fixation, you want to move, share the live right away, as long as it doesn't endanger your job and so on. We have a very strong view against the direction the current administration wants to take this country in, and because of that, a lot of people sometimes are a little timid, to share the content because they know how vindictive, especially if you live in Guyana, this administration can be extremely vindictive. We don't give a. All right, it's Friday morning. We don't give a heck. Our views are our views, and if you don't like it, you got Chronicle, you got DPI, you got NCN, you got Newsroom, you got a lot of other folks. So if what we see here don't suit your palate, departure is a simple act. That's a line from the movie Lion in Winter. Departure is a simple act. You put one foot in front of the next. That is Katharine Hepburn in that old classic Lion in Winter. Yeah. My age sure now. Good to have you. Sheila Hazel, Margaret Morris, and all the other folks who are joining us this morning. Guys, we are delighted that you are here. We're fired up and we're ready to go, ready to get into the morning papers. How are you folks doing out there? Wherever you all are joining us from, we are ready. We're fired up and ready to go, ready to get into the morning papers. How are you guys doing? Hope you guys are well this morning. And if not, we hope that you folks are on your way to well. Sheena Hazel, Margaret Morris, Yolanda Thomas is here. Brenda Moore is here as well. Claudette Bobby Lewis, of course. Only the best of the best. Good to have you guys here. We're about to get into the morning papers, folks, but good to see you. Wherever you all are joining us from, it's great to have you all at this end as we get ready to head into the morning papers. Good to have you. Brenda, Debbie Collins, good to have you. Donna, how are you doing? Donna Joseph, and the other folks who are joining us this morning. Yep, we're getting ready to get into the morning papers. We trust that you guys are great. A lot of things in the morning papers, and the task falls to us. Every day we have to go through all of these papers One of these days we're going to let you guys see our workflow. We're going to let you guys see our workflow at the back end, and we're going to pull up one of these papers big enough that you guys can see. And we're gonna invite you guys to come in the back end and see how we work and how we put together this information. Some of you are gonna say, I didn't know it was all of this. We know, we can tell you all. And this is that morning paper that we are featuring at the bottom. Let me make sure I get a little off of it so you can see it. I realize some of you can't see all of it because, as one of the advances in the age, the site gets a little dim, but that's a shot of the cover of the Starbuck News, and they're covering quite a couple of things. And we have to go through a lot of papers in the region, all of the islands, pulling a lot of the papers that are published internationally, and sift through that for about 12 stories, 12 to 15 stories on any given day in the morning. And we keep telling you guys how we've incorporated the use of AI at our end. I mean, if you have to click website to website looking for newspapers, looking for articles and so on, that would be tedious every single day. So we have AI that helps us, artificial intelligence, that helps us to do that in our curating of information, gathering information, but still there's a lot of information for us to sift through, about 500 different sources of news any given day, looking to see what's happening in the world, what's interesting that's happening in the world that have a possibility of impacting our lives. And as you see here, Starbuck News Cover, this is one of our local newspapers here for those of you who may be new to our program, where we broadcast from the national capital city in Georgetown. This is one of the local papers here, and they're telling us right off the bat, the Amerindian People's Association has lodged a formal complaint with these carbon credits. I mean, what is and we can talk about Jadlio press conference yesterday and him trying to push back against some of that. Once you have a dissenting voice, you're opposition. You belong to the APNU AFC, a Partnership for National Unity and Alliance for Change, APNU AFC. Right? Once you have a dissenting view, and that's pretty much what he said here yesterday. Those folks from the Amerindian People's Association, them is APNU. Jean LaRose, used to be part of, it's a small society, lots of people, in lots of things. Right? And why can't you be part of the Amerindian People's Association and not be involved in politics? Why is that? So among other things, our Amerindian brothers and sisters are very discomforted in the rollout and the mechanism used to say, how much they get from these carbon credits. And that's a good thing. It can only better our democratic processes, better that. That's all that can happen. Right? And so I heard one indigenous brother ask, he said, how did we arrive at 15% of the carbon credits? Who came up with that number? Right? It's Jacques himself. He just wake up one day and say, all right, I'm giving them 15% of 100. He said, that's fair and equitable. Right? Who decided that? What formula? You see, once you start asking questions like that, Ingrid Crawford, you know that. Leslie Charles, you know that, and the other folks joining us. Once you start asking questions like that, you're in trouble. You're in problems. They don't want no questions to be asked. You just come and pledge your obedience and be out. Right? But of course, you all are not operating like that. Right? You're not going to be operating like that. Right? That's what they want. You just come, you pledge your allegiance, and you're gone. You're beat out. That's what they're looking for. Right? But when they come, don't let them find it by y'all. Don't let them find it by you. We try to make sure that we get everything at our end queued up nicely for you folks. Share the live, folks. Smash that emoji button. We're happy to have each and every one of you join us from wherever you all are joining us from. We know some of you are at home here in Guyana, where we're broadcasting from, and then we got lots of other folks who come in from the diaspora. Lots and lots of other folks who come in from the diaspora. So good to have each and every one of you folks. Good to have each and every one of you join us from the many places that you come in from. Good to have you all. We're making sure we got all of our notes together. I thought we did, but perhaps not. Perhaps not. So doubling back and making sure we have all of the notes that we need to have. But good to have each and every one of you, and forgive us. Forgive us our trespasses. We're trying to make sure we have all of it. And we are fired up, good folks, and we are ready to go. Ready to go. Good to see you folks, and thanks so much for joining us. We're gonna head into some of the things happening, folks. Welcome if you're now joining us. Welcome to FYI. We're gonna turn our attention to some of the things that are happening internationally, some of the things that are happening locally, and some things are happening in the region. That's the order of things. And then we're going to touch on some of the things that are happening in the 592. Then when we circle back, some of the things happening in the 592. Share the live, folks. Do us that great favor. Share the live, smash that emoji button for us, and then we're gonna have a go at it. But good to see you. Good to see you. Let's get the housekeeping out of the way. Let's get the housekeeping matters out of the way. Great to see each and every one of you guys. We want you to know, as part of dealing with our housekeeping, if you need a good justice of the peace, commissioner of votes to affidavit, we want to recommend, guys, the Alistair Collins firm. They're down there at the Callion Mall on Lamaha Street, between Camp and Waterloo Streets. We want to recommend, if you need a justice of the peace, and we know, as so many of you often do, a commissioner of votes to affidavit, that you look no further. These are great folks that we use ourselves at this end. I want to recommend them to you. We recommend them highly too. They know what they're doing, and it's hard to find good service these days. Very, very hard and difficult to find good service. But we believe that in this enterprise, you're going to do just that. So get the answers you need, folks, from the Alistair Collins firm. As Commissioner of Votes to Affidavit and a Justice of the Peace, they provide expert guidance and support for all your documentation needs. And as I said, they're open Monday through Saturday at the Callion Mall and Lamaha Street, between Camp and Waterloo Streets. 649-6410. 649-6410. And you can also reach them at 685-6448. 685-6448. You can also reach them at those numbers, good folks. You can also reach them at those numbers. And again, for those of you who are now joining us, here's some of what's happening on the outside. Some of what's going down there, folks, on the outside. Live shot from the Demerara Harbor Bridge. Looks as though the rain is easing a little bit. We can think with them. All right. It seems as though the rain is easing a little bit. We ain't gonna trouble there. No trouble there at all. So look what's happening on the outside. What's happening close by you guys? What's happening close at your end? Don't keep everything to yourself. Let us know what is happening at your end. We want to know. Let us know what happening wrong by y'all. What's happening wrong by y'all? Do let us know, good folks. Great to have each and every one of you here, wherever you all are joining us from. Welcome again, and let's head into some of what's happening locally on the ground where we are. Good folks, let's take a look at some of that. And first up, folks, this is one of the headlines we're looking at this morning. Look what it says here. Oh my, let me get to center. It says Pentagon leaks. Russia Special Forces decimated. That's one of the things covering, Pentagon leaks. And a whole host of classified documents were leaked from the Pentagon. They captured a young fellow quite recently. He's an intelligence officer working right there, working in the system, right? And part of the revelations from those leaks is that the Russian forces are decimated by the Ukraine war, and that's why they believe they brought in those mercenaries especially in that Bakhmut area there in the Ukraine. Brought in those mercenaries, and that's some of what came out of some of those leaked documents, right? That the Russian special forces decimated. Putin wasn't prepared for such a protracted war. Facebook user says they're having some rain there in New Amsterdam. Yeah. I'd rather a little rain than the war. That's what the guys are telling us. Putin wasn't prepared for protracted war. Was not. That's one of the headlines we're looking at this morning. Look at this other one, guys. Look at this other one we're tracking. All right. Coburn John woman gets bail. Death threats to President Ali. We told you of that overnight. What happened there? And she actually pleaded guilty to one of those charges. Yep. Actually pleaded guilty to the inciting racial hostility. That's what they're telling us. She pleaded guilty to that particular one and paid $75,000. Right? The one with the threats to the president, as one news entity put it, threats. Threats to the president. That one, I think she pleaded not guilty, and she pleaded guilty to the other one. Incitement, $75,000. Zelina Ali, also known as Kim Ali. Zelina Ali, also known as Kim Ali. So she's on, she paid, racial, for the contravention of the Racial Hostility Act. She pleaded guilty and was fined $75,000. Right? And she's on $25,000 bail. Threats against the president. $25,000 bail. Yeah. Believe it or not, that's how that went. $25,000 bail. Look what else we're following, folks. Look what else we're following. This is not one of those headlines that we are looking at. Not one of those headlines. A letter to the head editor. This one kind of jumped out at us a little bit because this was written by, we've been looking at Terry Gadraj, bemoaning the treatment he has received as an artist locally, and then Mr. Shivraj, Mahadio Shivraj, he as well, just yesterday, we were going through that. And today, coming on the heels of that, Jem Nascimento says, y'all alone, I received the same kind of treatment as well. Jem Nascimento in today's paper. That's what she said. She said, I've had several projects, reached out to the administration, and not much never happened. We gotta treat, more from lip service. Put it in that way. Where culture is concerned, we gotta move from just lip service. We love our artists, we love song and dance, we love poetry and so on, right? To treating our folks with respect. And here's part of what Jem Nascimento, used to be Madu, I think. Jem Nascimento says, Mrs. Jem Nascimento, in reference to Terry Gadraj, who publicly complained about the fact that he has not been recognized by our government as a Guyanese singer performing extensively in North America, and Mahadio Shivraj, who similarly complained of the fact that he had produced some 7 full-length commercial films without any government support, both of whom I have worked with, and I welcome them to the club. I have lived and worked in Guyana, and I am yet to receive funding from our governments. In spite of submitting a number of professional proposals for any of my productions, save and except when the Ministry of Tourism under Godfrey de Silva commissioned me to produce a musical, Guyanese Roots and Rhythms, which I wrote and directed for World Cup cricket in 2007, staged at the Sophia Exhibition Center. And that's part of her letter to the editor in today's paper. Right, so she said to Terry and Shivraj, Mahadio Shivraj, welcome to the club, folks. I don't know if you would agree, but I think we passed the stage. Remember when the PP used to censor songs that they don't agree with because of the social commentary, like Mighty Rebel. You can't have your music played on national radio or on television. It's interesting. It's very interesting how far we've come. And these folks come now and talk about, oh, good governance and the rule of law and transparency and accountability. When even in the lyrics of music, they're afraid and don't want to be held accountable in that manner. Right? And ban the music from playing on the radio and all of that. Right? Irrespective of how you feel about people personally. Right? Culturally, how can we develop? How can we hew out a Guyanese culture? Small wonder, we just kind of buy wholesale. Small wonder we got carnival. Right? Because they fight down, people would get, you sing a little calypso and you mention somebody's name, they take offense. Right? When those plays are staged by Jem Nascimento, right? LinkedIn, Ron Robinson, and you got nothing to laugh about and so on. Leaders should go and listen. Right? I find them hilarious, number one, and it gives you a good sense of how other people are thinking about what you're doing. How other people are looking at it, and it's sometimes good to see yourself, not to take yourself too seriously, see how people caricature you and all of that. All of that is part of the territory. People want to step up to lead, but they don't like criticisms. You can't have thin-skinned people like that. Anybody who wants to lead and you don't like criticisms, you're in the wrong place. You're in the wrong place. You got a couple of people here criticizing you. You vex. How Joe Biden them is make out? You got a country with millions upon millions of people. Democratic country that get criticized every day and in some vile manners. And they have to wake up tomorrow and coexist with all of those people. Karen Heyman, John Jones, and I try to imprison people and bring trumped up charges, no pun intended. We got little criticisms, and most of which are constructive. The government is doing a lot of foolishness, a lot of nonsense. And some of that came out in that press conference yesterday by your Vice President, Mr. Jagdeo. Some of that came out, you see. But all they want is to be Suhawe, as Kemraj would put it. That's all they want. They like the praises. They like the praises. Am I calling the word right, those of you who know it? They like to be Suhawe. I know there's a verb like that. You can put a verb in it. ED, Suhawe. Right? They just want to be praised and you must genuflect before them, and as soon as they come out, put on a mala on them and you bow and you courtesy. Leadership is not only about that. Right? But they got the hard work of paying respect, for instance, to people who have helped to forge the culture that is Guyanese. Isn't easy. I can imagine. You commissioned to write a play. Mrs. Nascimento said she had been. You have to go home and, summon your intellectual creativity. Right? You don't always be in a mood to write. You gotta make sure you're in that space. Especially in a country like this that zaps all your energy, zaps all your creativity, zaps your focus. Right? And then a little honorary mention. The time you take musing out people, you can imagine the time, if you take time on a podcast and you recognize people's effort. Even post-presidency, we see Barack Obama doing a lot of that. When he talks about his favorite music for the year, favorite books for the year, Michelle Obama talks about her favorite designers for the year. That's giving kudos, helping their culture move forward. These guys don't read. They like do studies. They like research. None of that. None of that. Right? All they want to do is abuse them whole day. Abuse them whole day. I'd love to see a list. What makes Irfan Ali reading list? You know, I ain't talking about just for notes you gotta read. If somebody, Jack, you hand you some notes and said, regurgitate this. In your pastime, what influences you? What's on your reading list? What music you listen to? Listen to Adrian Dutchin and Jumo, Tamika Marshall and Samuel Bedas. Abusing them whole day. Talk something a little positive. That's what they're saying. You don't, because of that, they have no appreciation for culture. None. I don't know when last any of them in or out of government ever go in the National Culture Center and sit down and watch a play. You know, one of those satirical pieces where they might be featured, might be the butt of some jokes without being angry and upset. They ain't gonna let them burn them, you know. They ain't gonna let them Desmahite. Nothing. Nothing at all. Not a headline. Letter to the editor. Ferrari taxes. Ferrari taxes. Folks, again, on the heels of what I've just said, you see when you want to become a public figure, all kinds of things come with it. Right? People will watch it, what I say and tantalize, you know, caricature what I say, caricature what I do. All manner of things. I can get vexed with them. No. I view it as no PR is bad PR. And so the Mohammeds, you know, have emerged as public personalities, and people now scrutinizing what they do. Right? Mr. Mohammed said he wants to be a councillor, he wants to run for some constituency, I think, on the East Bank. And people are now putting into the light. That's what scrutiny is, you know, you hold up things to the light and said, you see what's happening here? What is happening here? So there's this letter to the editor that we saw in Sabak News and pulled out. Ferrari taxes. Again, some allegations are being made here. Right? And certainly by Sabak News publishing it, they might see some veracity to some of the things that are being said in this letter. Ferrari taxes. I mean, there's not a lot of people in this country own Ferraris. I don't know if you have 3 or 4. Shah Mohammed, the letter says. Right? That's how it's a very short letter. Shah Mohammed says his son Azruddin, his son's Azruddin's Ferrari was held by US Customs. And Azruddin himself boasted of ownership of his Facebook page and said that the Ferrari was inexplicably detained. He said that on his Facebook page, according to the letter writer. The Ferrari was inexplicably detained on the grounds of allegations made to foreign law enforcement about himself, family, and company. But the Ferrari was released after the interventions of the court. Right? And it was imported into Guyana, they say, under the name Hannah Mohammed, Azruddin's sibling. That's the contention in this letter to the editor of today's Sabak News, April the 14th. Right? That this Ferrari was imported into Guyana under the name Hannah Mohammed, Azruddin's sibling, using the migrant duty-free concession. Right? That's what they're saying here. Using the migrant duty-free concession. Under this agreement, only 10% of 160 million in taxes, right, was paid to the Guyana Revenue Authority. That's in a letter in Sabak News. Don't think I'm trying to slander anybody. That's in a letter in Sabak News. 10% under this duty-free concession for remigrants. 10% of that 160 million in taxes, you know, was paid to the Guyana Revenue Authority. It seems like ex-FBI man for hire may have lost a step or two in retirement and missed that bit of information in his investigations investigation there is in single uplifted commas, for he give his recommendations at the cost of his reputation. Yeah. Yeah. You know, the one thing in Guyana, right? I will say this is the second rule of politics, all that in the paper, all of that in Starbuck News. That's how the letter writer referred to the fellow from this firm that they hired, the FBI man. Right? It says here that the Ferrari in contention was quoting, was imported into Guyana under the name Hannah Mohammed, Azruddin's sibling, using a migrant duty-free concession. Under this agreement, only 10% of 160 million in taxes was due. That was due was paid to the GRA. It seems the FBI man, the ex-FBI man for hire, may have lost a step or two in retirement and missed that bit of information in his investigation, for he gave his recommendations at a cost to his reputation. Yeah. So the first rule, I would say, you want to become a public personality. You see, a lot of people want to be famous, you know, but they can't take all that comes with it. Right? You gotta get thick skin. That's number one. Right? And don't get secrets. Especially in Guyana. Guyana is a small place. Everybody knows everybody. Naomi Drucker, Yolanda Thomas, Simone Williams, right? Sadie. Everybody knows everybody. And everybody business. Once the document got passed through a hand, you see, everybody know who's be the wife, be the girlfriend. You know, everybody know. They'll treat the family. Right? Everybody know who there with everybody. We don't say having a relationship. Who there? Which minister government? You know, Biggie Secretary Belly. All that is known. Right? Who breaking up homes? Which minister breaking up which marriage? All of that is known. Against a small place. You can't have it in the closet. Especially now. You can say, I want to jump in public. And especially when you're dealing with a cabal like this, whose sins are darker than night. They first can come and say, hey, you see? Right? So that's all that's in election. You gotta love this country, folks. Never a dull moment. Never, never, never a dull moment. You know? You gotta love this country. We love it. 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 Some of the things we're looking at, folks, in the morning papers, and we wanna turn our attention to some of the things that we are looking at internationally. Yeah, Ghana is a small place, folks. Ghana is a very, very, very small place. It's small. A very, very, very small place. A very small place. So we were telling you guys some of what we're covering internationally. That's what we want to touch on. Some of the things we're covering internationally, good folks. Some of the things we're covering internationally. How y'all doing out there? How y'all doing out there? Guys, we trust y'all are well. We trust y'all are well. All of that, you know, happening. I love this country. I love it. I ain't say I won't go overseas and spend a little time, you know, catch a little hand. No. Things wrong in this country, God get him. I could be overseas right now if you ask me. Dwayne Collins, Bernadette, you know. Again, we were talking a little bit about what some of what came out of those leaked documents out of the Pentagon when we started. The Polish Prime Minister, folks, he said this: failure in the Ukraine could mark the end of Western global age, golden age. See, I got me. Naomi Drucker distracted me. Right? Naomi, baby, something, man. Right? Failure in the Ukraine. Failure is not an option, folks. Right? Failure is not an option. So don't let us go there. We're not accepting failure. And we told you guys, this was how that fella started. right? This is how he started. And I'm talking about Hitler. So the Polish Prime Minister, he's saying failure in the Ukraine. Don't let me do that. Don't do it. Failure in the Ukraine, it's very, very costly. And that the League of Willing Nations got to do what it takes to stem the tide that is Putin. You got to step up and do what it takes to stem the tide that is Vladimir Putin. And I agree with him. That is precisely how Hitler started. It was one little country and nobody said nothing. It was another little country and nobody said nothing. And then another country and another. You see? And then Hitler was marching across Europe and having his eyes set on the UK. Well, by this time, the Americans, they were waiting. And Britain had been pulling them for help, for more help than they were offering. You see? Yeah. That's the third rule. I'll give you all the rules this morning. You must have a thick skin. Oh, you want to come into public light and so on. You see? Don't have too many skeletons in your closet. That'll be my second rule. And the third, I would say, you got to be a student of history. You have to be a student of history. That's what I'm telling you. Free information I give you this morning. That's how we know about Hitler. And that's how them boys saying, No. And that's what the Polish Prime Minister is saying this morning. Again, if you can hear the rustling there. I'm trying to find my way through some notes that I have here. Right? Because I want you also to understand what we're dealing with. And a lot of people kind of recognize these things when it was too late in the past. Right? But now we have all that history to our benefit, and we got to make better decisions. Much better decisions than we have made in the past. And again, I agree. I find myself in agreement with this Polish Prime Minister, who has a fancy name I wouldn't even dare to attempt to call. Right? So we gotta step it up. I think that's what he was saying basically. Pick up the pace. Pick up the pace, fellas. Pick up the pace. I think that's what he was saying to them. Y'all on a go slow here, but please, I'm begging y'all, pick up the pace a little bit. You see? All right, folks, thanks for joining us. Those of you who are here with us, share that live for us. Smash that emoji button as well. I'll find my place. I found my place and my space. So pick up the pace. Pick it up. Years ago, I read a fantastic book. Right? Here's some good books on Hitler. Recommend for y'all. Right? You got Hitler and Churchill, Secrets of Leadership, Andrew Roberts. Let them make a book list. We Shall Not Fail. It's another book. The Inspiring Leadership of Winston Churchill. This is when he took on Hitler as his foe. Right? Hitler, A Beginner's Guide. These are books I read. Wanting to understand world history. I always hearing about Hitler. I said, you know, I can make this fella study. Right? I can make this fella study. Hitler, A Beginner's Guide. Nigel Rogers. The Hitler of History by John Lucas was a fantastic read. The Hitler of History. Right? Recommending that one for you guys too. The Hitler of History. Recommending that one for you. Right? What have you read on Hitler? The Dictators was another fantastic book by Richard Overy. Hitler's Germany and Stalin's Russia is the subtitle there. The Hitler of History. The Dictators, rather. Right? Inside Hitler's Bunker. Right? The Last Days of the Third Reich was another fantastic read. Well, and then you got Until the Final Hour. This was written by a woman who was Hitler's secretary. That was deeply insightful, because it's not just historians writing. There's somebody who had first-hand experience, right? Until the Final Hour, written by a woman named Trod Jung, right? And then another one that was very impactful on me reading was Among the Dead Cities by A.C. Kraling, which talked about how when Hitler started his campaign against the UK and bombing lots of those cities in the UK on a daily basis. That's another fantastic read. Among the Dead Cities. Hence, I'm making the point, folks. You know, you gotta you have to love history, right? You gotta love history. Some people think we just run out here, you know. Some people, you know, it's where they come from. Some people think we just run out here. You know, we just run out. It's where they land from. Right? We just run out. We came in out. I trust you're happy. Right? But good to have you folks here. Look what else we are following. Taking my time this morning. How y'all gonna roll? Right? Tourists detained. This is in Bali. Stripping by one of the folks' sacred trees there in Bali. Oh. You gotta be respectful when you come in people's house. You know, be respectful. Right? Tourists detained for stripping naked by a sacred tree in Bali. Now, when you see it, you might just see a tree. Right? Even if you know it's a sacred tree, you might disagree why the tree is a sacred tree. Don't let it concern you. You come in the people's house, you see them going $2 for $1, you fall in line. Right? You see people going, you fall in line until such time. Right? The people got the tree, she stripped down. Never mind, I think it's a good photograph. You know, has a look at it a couple of times as well to come and share with you folks. Never mind, it's a good photograph. You come in the people's country, you go and stripping down. If that's how you do things by you, fair enough. You know, some people come by your house, Ayabo, right? Keshan Sharma said the tree was traumatized, among other things. Among other things. Some people come by the house, they like how you fix the chair. They want to swing the chair another way. They come to see your curtains. Oh, I want to do something different with these drapes, with these blinds, with these curtains. Oh, is this mat you buy? This carpet? What can I do with you? That's why people don't want, you know, having anybody come by the house. Right? That's why people don't want having anybody come by the house. You know? If people got a sacred tree, you can go and strip down and take a photograph. Right? And then you can say the people from Bali bad because they detain you and whatever happens during that process. Right? It's just sad. It's just sad. You got people, how do you think they photograph Bernadette? It's not a bad photograph. All things being equal, I can see a lot of artistic value here. Right? I don't know what, you know, enamored her to this tree. Because it's so big, it's wood, it's whatever. It's not a bad photograph. I can see some artistic value if I look intently. But still, you come by people, you see they're doing things a certain way. Oh, oh, oh. Moving on, good folks. Moving on. Jesus Lord. Folks, there's another strain of COVID. Arcturus, is that how you pronounce it? I lost count by now of all the variants, all the strains. But the big question now is what is causing this surge? I think in cases in India, is that what we have in the notes, folks? In cases in India, this COVID surge. That's the big question. What is causing this surge in India? It's thought to be, at least 2 times more contagious than the Omicron. I forget about them. This variant. And it has been detected in 22 other countries so far, including the US and the UK. India reporting about 40,000 active cases of COVID on April 12th. Right? The way we're behaving now is like COVID never exists. COVID? What name, sir? Arcturus? Get thee behind me. Get thee behind me. Arcturus, what name, sir? Huh? Kim Batson, good to see you. Folks, be careful out there. Be careful out there. COVID is still with us. COVID is still with us. And then they're telling us this explosion in Texas killed 18,000 heads of cattle. And some of the farm attendants also were badly injured. An explosion in Texas, 18,000. 18,000. I can imagine how the people in Texas dignified. You see, if you had an explosion that had killed 3 heads of cattle here, you would see people with knife and bowl running. Not from the explosion, Knife and bowl and pot running. See? 18,000 heads of cattle. You can imagine. Yeah? That's meat coming cooked from that explosion. That's beef coming prepared for the pepper pot already. Right? That's beef coming prepared for the curry. Right? I can imagine people sitting down right there, on the periphery of that explosion, knife and fork. Say, hey boy, watching them firemen try to put out the blaze. This piece tastes nice. What's it? Lean piece of meat here, cutting up and going forward. You ever see, a cow or a goat getting knocked down in this country? You remember we showed you here what happened with a cow that was knocked down somewhere? Policemen run out. I want the leg. Give it a piece there. Right? You can imagine 1,000 heads of cat. That's people like when they get packed in the stadium. You will see people emerge. 18,000 heads of cattle die just like that. Magnell, I can see people saying the Lord don't come, he send. You see, that's meat for the year. Meat for the year. We wish the guys the best though. We wish them the best. Meat for the year. God don't come. Thank you, Father. Thank you. You answered my prayers. You answered my Lenten prayers. As we can see some of y'all saying, you answered my Lenten prayers, Father. 18,000, 18,000 heads of cattle. Just like that. Folks, and while we're talking about COVID, this new strand, Arcturus, that new strand, you got some Caribbean countries battling too. St. Lucia telling us that they got an outbreak, significant increase in gastroenteritis. This is bringing on diarrhea and a whole host of other things. They're treating it as an outbreak there. So we got actuals to deal with, plus we got gastroenteritis. That's what they're telling us. I know as we survey some other things that are happening, the picture's not pretty. Arcturus on the one hand, and all the other variants in Costa Rica. They're telling us there's an outbreak of malaria in Costa Rica. Folks, y'all think it's end times? That's my question. You think it's end times? Gastroenteritis outbreak in St. Lucia, Costa Rica, you got, dengue fever. Someplace else we saw. And then you got the PDP to deal with as well. Right? You got the PDP to deal with as well. Significant increase, they say, in St. Lucia. We hope they bring it under control. Bring that under control. Crime in Trinidad is skyrocketing, they're saying. And yet the administration says we don't have, the opposition has been pressing them to declare a state of the emergency to really try to bring a handle on that. Right? They've been really pressing them. Trinidad is saying that, we're not ready to go there as yet. We're not ready to go there as yet. Correct? We got our own situation here. Them guys didn't even focus on that. We hear nothing but that in yesterday's press conference. Again, live shot of the Harbor Bridge. And the rain seemed to have subsided somewhat there. We don't have all them things. Right? So they're saying, no, we're not going to go in the direction of state of emergency. They're not ready on that front. And this is according to the National Security Minister, Fitzgerald Hines. He said, no national state of emergency. They're not going in that direction. No national state of emergency. Yeah. So St. Lucia, Trinidad. What else we have? The IMF keeps telling us, that things are going down. Things are going to get worse. This is the International Monetary Fund for Latin America and Caribbean countries. Things are getting better. Things will get worse. Dwayne Collins and Maxine Monroe, Commissioner Cole, it'll only get worse. Right? And, we talk about this 37.2% increase in GDP and all that. Nobody's feeling that. That's why we go running with our bowls, with all that beef. Nobody is feeling this 37.2, right? We're not feeling that. So we like the rest of the other folks, rising cost of living, inflation, all of that. Tighten your belts. Tighten your belts. We didn't even need belts in the last administration. We didn't realize how good we had things. Now you have to get belt, and then you have to tighten it. That's what the International Monetary Fund telling us. And then in Belize, the Prime Minister there, Mr. Bracio, the opposition leader, Mr. Shane, is asking them, why are you treating Haitian nationals and Jamaican nationals in this way? We all been treated in the exact same way, it's just that we got an aisle now. And them boys might need to knock a bar on something. Right? They're going to need to knock a bar on something, and so they're trying to treat us differently. Because we will be just in the same category. So apparently we're understanding that Belize is treating these Jamaica and Haitian nationals like we used to be treated in Barbados. You got your own bench. So he's asking the Prime Minister, the government, John Bracino, what's happening here? What's happening? What happening? This is according to the opposition leader, Shane Barrow. So that's the elephant in the room there. These are Caribbean nationals, member states. You got the You have your treaty obligations, the treaty of Chaguaramas, free movement of people. But again, we pay lip service to a lot of things. We pay lip service to a lot of issues. Them boys don't caring too much with all of that. Treaty of Chaguaramas. What's a treaty? Yeah. What's a treaty? With the 592 folks. We in the 592. Thanks for joining our broadcast, all of you who have. Share the live, folks. Smash that emoji. But first, let's show you a couple of things that are happening locally before we let you go. A couple of things that are happening locally. Right? It's not easy. Not easy at all. Not easy at all. First up, the sad news we gotta start with. Every day is death and destruction. Something being destroyed by fire. Crime surging. People's lives being taken. 17-year-old laborer from Abari Creek. One Christopher Felix. They're telling us is in serious condition after an incident at Mohammed Snacket at Bath Settlement. The victim told police he was approached by the suspect named Kevin, who stabbed him with a black handle knife before escaping. Right? Before escaping. It's not easy in this place. Teenager stabbed that Mohammed Snacket there in Bath Settlement. And if you don't have a tenacious spirit to pursue the authorities to get justice, none will be forthcoming. None. Right? None. Oh, so the Carifta Games are over, but the fallout over the way the logistics were handled continues. You see Charles Ramson saying, never again will be allowed. Well, he said it last year, the year before that. Every time a team goes overseas and there's some fiasco with them, never again should you allow Charles close to something like that. Right? He too busy, Mr. Photo Up. Mr. Photo Up, too busy with that. Right? Too busy with that. The fourth rule today, lots of leadership don't happen in front of the cameras. Right? Lots of things about leadership don't happen in front of the cameras. Right? Behind closed doors, you're putting in the work. But clearly, there's just camera people. Right? Them just PR people. Camera people, PR people. Photo up people. That one is an apt description of them. They're just there for the photo ops, the hard work. All right. Right? Carifta Games are here. They're behaving as though they were surprised by Carifta Games. Woke up, we got scrambled together. They didn't know what's happening. Now, these things are on the national calendar. You know it's happening annually, biannually, triannually, however it's happening. You know it's there and you get a chance to plan. Right? But they behaving, they were surprised. The Carifta Festival was happening. He had to scramble together a team at the 9th hour. The fellow said that government give the sponsorship late. They gave money, yes, at the 9th hour. Right? But I saw a reporting out of Royal Tony that says now they got a $12,000 bill for some of those chartered flights, and the Athletics Association wants the Olympic Association to foot the bill. It's drama. Drama. That's Guyana. we are drama-filled people. We are a dramatic people. Very, very dramatic. Drama-filled and dramatic on all points. So Mr. Hudson got his hands full. And how does he overcome this? Because it seems a lot of people, want to see his back. A lot of people want to see the back of Mr. Hudson. Yep, Charleston, never again. I don't know if it's hiring Mr. Hudson, if it's, having him as the president of this organization. Never again until next year. Right? But Mr. Hudson of the Athletics Association of Guyana, we wish him the best moving forward. And we truly hope that this doesn't happen again. Really and truly hope it does not happen again. Right? It does not. And how this bill is going to be paid, 12,000 US. Y'all know the matter there already. Somebody else say, look, story here. So the folks are saying that that's something. Right? The Guyana Olympic Association is being asked to foot that bill for these charter flights. But I thought I saw Charles saying that government will stand all the expenses of transportation. Didn't we see that? Government will stand all the expenses. Best wishes, Ms. Hudson. Best wishes. Dattadin of all people is now stepping into the local government fray and talking about the horrid record of City Hall in mishandling the coffers, right? Never mind some of their friends in the business sector. We got lots of good businessmen. Lots of them don't pay taxes, right? Let's make that a study. Let's make a study also of how government has handled City Hall over the years. Wasn't there government that knocked out an elected council and brought in an IMC? You got to know the history. I can tell you all that. You got to know the history. That IMC was led by, what do you call him? Agriculturist, florist, Campton Young, who had Flower Wall, Flower Land, Flower something, and Middle Street there. Right? That's way back in the back. Campton Young, he was heading that IMC, wasn't he? Or he was mayor before then or subsequent to then. I think the IMC had deposed Campton Young as mayor, if I'm correct. Right? That IMC was led by Mr. Rose, James Rose. PPP stalwart, Mr. James Rose. That IMC was led by James Rose. Come on, folks, help the eye out. I just plucking this thing from memory and what I read over the years. The IMC was led by James Rose and deposed of the mayorship of Campton Young. Right? So it's that they know who they could talk this foolishness to and with. The PPP has been one of the most divisive figures in local politics in the city. One of the most divisive. They had an opportunity to come in and sit down with City Hall and say, how can we work together? Every step over the last 2-3 years with them has been to undermine City Hall. Every step. So when that then comes talking about this horrible part of handling city coffers, see, they're not going to focus on money. Money, and always try to label you a thief. You're a rapist. You're an abuser. That's the modus operandi. We got to change that. Right? We got to change that. And we didn't talk yet about the record of the PPP on local government. For 20 plus years, we didn't have a local government election. So could we talk about that too? Maureen Williams, Yolanda Chalmers, Sadie, Crystal Simon, for 20 odd years, we didn't even have local government elections. Could we talk about that? So let's talk about the people who now saying that others frighten local government elections. Suddenly, they're champions of local government elections. They had it in 20 plus years. Maybe it's our time for rest now. How about that? Maybe it's our time for sabbatical. How about that? Not one, not two, not three, close to 20 years. David Granger, to his credit, His Excellency President Granger, fought for the return of local democracy. Could we talk about that as well? Alison Jones, Dolly Anderson, Crystal Simon, could we allow that into this debate about local governance and City Hall? David Granger fought led protests on a daily basis outside of the office of the president for local government elections and brought them back in 2016. Where are these jagabats who now are the bastions of democracy, and local government is enshrined in the constitution every 3 years, but they don't have no time with the constitution? So we can just say quietly to Dr. Din this morning, you can take a seat, sir. Right? You can take a seat and maybe read this letter that former Minister Patterson have in the papers. Because again, he's accurate. The PPP preaches accountability. Right? Accountability, but does everything to eradicate corrupt practices. And he started with the Public Procurement Commission. Right? They talk a good talk, but when it comes time to walk in the walk, not so much. Not so much. Try somebody else. Right? They can talk a good talk. And that's part of what he says to this in this letter to the editor in today's paper. Right? They talk in a good talk, but they want to walk the walk, folks. Here is what he says. I'm going to read a paragraph quickly for you guys. He says, Essence article on the progress, some news article on the progress of the Bamia School, the Bamia Primary School, highlights the challenges that exist when previously untested contractors are awarded contracts for major infrastructure projects. Based on public information, this contract for the Bamia Primary School was awarded to a company that was established in only 3 months before the award. 3 months, bringing into question if the company would have met the criteria, the technical criteria as yet, right, set out in the MPRTAP standard bidding document. That should be guiding the procurement process. Almost 3 months ago, based on the uncertainty surrounding the award of this contract, I would have lodged several complaints with the Public Procurement Commission requesting investigations to be conducted into the award of several contracts, including the Bamia Primary School. The Public Procurement Commission is a constitutional body tasked with investigating complaints from the public on alleged procurement breaches. But to date, I have not been afforded the courtesy of an acknowledgement of receipt of my complaint. And these folks, again, they're going to come and talk a good talk, you know, and preach about accountability and good governance and all of that. But the actions, folks, the actions are so vastly different. The actions are so vastly different. Coming out of yesterday's press conference with the leader of the opposition, Vice President Mr. Jaglio, former leader of the opposition, and perhaps future leader of the opposition as well. Hear how they excuse themselves. You know, the Petroleum Commission should have already been set up. No rushing the process. That's what they say. Right? No rushing the process. Jaglio says government to finalize new procurement law and its model contracts by July. We ain't gonna rush. Right? But it's only them. It's only they're not allowed to rush, folks. Everybody else, you know, you had 5 years, you have to giddy up. But they are allowed to take the time. Don't let me rush it. Right? They came in and met the local content legislation already there. Right? They cussed us out for not passing it after AFC. Right? But for them, we don't rush. Don't rush this thing. We have the natural resources bill. It's already there. Right? And you're working through to get the best iteration for the Guyanese people. Oh, the abuse down was already there. The abuse out. You see? And for them, the new procurement laws to govern and supervise and to provide transparency and to give good governance to the sector. Don't rush it. Don't rush it. It harkens back to something that I think it's Dr. Stephen Covey says, and that's the guy who wrote the Laws of Effective People. 7 Laws of Effective People. Something to that nature. I can't get it correctly now. Right? He says we judge the other person by their actions, but we judge ourselves by our intention. We mean well. We want the best petroleum law. Don't rush it. Don't rush it. But for the app, no. The lazy, the this, the that. But don't rush me. Give your fans some time. I thought we were asking for the same from Mr. Granger. Give Granger some time. Yesterday's press conference was a pack of lies. A pack of lies. And folks, you gotta understand how the politics, right? You're gonna morsel a smidgen, a little crunchy piece of fact, and everything else is propaganda, right? And lies, right? So lots of what you hear in this press conference is just jab, 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 lies, jab, 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 political fodder. And you might get once and far a smidgen of fact in something that was said. Take a listen to some of what was said during this press conference this was, Mr. Norton held a press conference yesterday as the PNCR does and the Office of the Leader of the Opposition does on Thursdays. And Mr. Jaguar's entire press conference was based on Mr. Norton's press conference. So he came to repeat what Mr. Norton said. Right? That was his purpose. He was there to repeat, what Mr. Norton said. Right? Let's take some of what we dealt with a little bit last evening. Let's take a portion of what he said yesterday. This is Mr. Jaguar on education, for instance. Right? This is him on education. Take a listen.
The education sector, we have major work here. We have some schools overflowing. So we have even gone to an intermediate. When we look at the experience of the Hope School or even in Georgetown, sometimes it takes, when awarding these contracts, 4 or 5 years to complete them. So we're going for an intermediate solution in schools where we have overflow of students. We're putting up in 6 months, we want to put up a facility with good floor, classrooms, fans in them, etc., as an intermediate facility to handle overflow and to make sure that we move back to a system where we don't have to do double shifts every day because it affects parents. So we started coming up with a plan to do that, to tackle overflow whilst we're building new schools. The education sector, we have major work there. We have some schools overflowing. So we have even gone to an intermediate. When we look at the experience of the Hope School or even in Georgetown, sometimes it takes, when awarding these contracts, 4 or 5 years to complete them. So we are going for an intermediate solution in schools where we have overflow of students, where we're putting up in 6 months, we want to put up a facility, a prefab facility with good floor, classrooms, fans in them, etc., as an intermediate facility to handle overflow and to make sure that we move back to a system where we don't have to do double shifts every day because it affects parents. So we started coming up with a plan to do that, to tackle overflow whilst we're building new hospitals.
Yeah. That's your boy talking about what they're doing in education. No, you got to slow some of this down. You got to slow some of it down. So this prefab facility that they are talking about, right? But let's go to the overflow. Now this is a government. Schools got capacity for 200 students. As a hypothesis, they send in 500. They send in 500 students, right? They just took over, but they don't know what they're doing, and that is why you're ending up with that situation. Did all these children just born and end up ready for high school? Between let's say the 1st of August and the 2nd of August, 2020. All of these overflows and these prefab structures. This is the 10th by East Ramville Secondary School they're talking about. Right? The tent where the sun is so hot. These enclosed tents, the children are baking. Right? And then I want you to listen, folks. Listen and understand where they're coming from. He said, when you award these contracts, they take 4 to 5 years. And these are the same folks who come in abusing out about St. Rose's High School. Right? Why it took so long for St. Rose's High School to finish? They abuse out the coalition. But you see, they excuse themselves. Right? I want you all to understand that these schools, when you award the contracts, take 4 to 5 years. Right? But you didn't bestow that kind of leniency on the coalition. You didn't do that. The school takes 4 to 5 years. You see that? Did you recognize that? So we can do the same thing. When they lose government in 2025 and we get back in there, we can say the same thing. They never do nothing. Right? But those schools were in the pipeline when they got in there. Right? So they make excuses for themselves. This is classical PPP. The same thing they're cussing you out for. They're making excuses for themselves for. These things take time. The procurement laws, the petroleum laws, they take time, patience. Give your friends some time. Oh, these schools, getting the contract executed takes a little time, 4 to 5 years. Right? But why St. Rose's didn't finish? Oh, why this other school didn't complete? And in the same breath, they can tell you, oh, in 5 years, Apnu AFC didn't do nothing. Keith Evans, right? Apnu AFC didn't do nothing. In 5 years, they did nothing. That's how they operate. You see? That's part of the process. That is part of the process. Right? That's part of the fiction. That is part of the fiction. That is part of the enterprise. Listen to them in agriculture. And you can see the same kind of foolishness. Listen to them in agriculture, for instance. You can hear the same kind of foolishness. Excuse. Oh, we're doing X, Y, and Z. Then excuse. Right? But when they're looking at the opponents, not an inch shall be given. No excuses shall be entertained.
The whole environment where we went to India, we're looking at broccoli production. We started producing corn and soya. All of this is happening in the agricultural sector. Contrast that with agriculture on the APNU. Contrast that. If you can go back to the 5 years, you think that agriculture had no future in this country. But the energy that we put back in that sector. Let's look at mining. The miners were despondent. After all the promises were made, they started seeing the taxes on equipment, the royalty rate was increased, a lot of pressure, they increased the tributers tax, everything. More pressure on the miners. We have changed a lot of that. We've removed the taxes on the equipment, we've removed the tributers tax totally. We've reduced back the royalty rate, and the miners, they have had a bad weather spell because when it rains, it's hard to mine, but they have a more favorable environment. That is what's happening in mining. On infrastructure across this country, We have awarded now over 2,500 roads, community roads, and right across Guyana. And you see the difference. You go to communities, never had a road before, you see them getting a concrete road. We have had hundreds of small contractors starting to work now once again, because, well, not once again, they never work, but they will get a small road contract now to build a concrete road. If we do asphaltic road, they would never be able to do that because the method of laying in the base work and the equipment that they needed, and also it's very sensitive to weather, and getting an asphalt plant or the asphalt on time in some of the remote parts of the country would have been a difficult proposition. But now inland, across the country, and this year we have that program, and we said we want people in the regions, the small contractors in the regions, their own regions, to get the work. When I was in Linden, I said we're looking to award the contracts of roads, over $1 billion of roads in that region, to people in that region, in Region 10. The same thing in Berbice, Essequibo. So you have more contractors, small contractors of every race, getting work in that regard. But people are also seeing the changes in their communities now, and that's only on community roads. If you talk about the highways, you've seen a transformation. The highways, we've had 5 new major highways now that we've started or about to start. 5 new major highways that would lead to maybe hundreds of kilometers of roads expanded into 4 lanes.
Yeah. So that's some of what he said just yesterday in that press conference. And folks, don't get carried away with your hate for their politics. With your hate for their politics. Again, you got to slow that down and listen to the joker. Slow it down and listen to the joker. So let's look at a couple of things from what he says there. He talks about mining, for instance, and how better, how more favorable the environment is for mining. But if you guys have been ardent followers of our program, their own figures late last year told us that mining sector, is showing a deficit. Gold declarations, for instance, is showing a deficit. Again, he's making excuses for that. How? He said they've had a little spate of bad weather. And you can't do mining, when it rains, right? Did you see that? Did you hear that? Right? Because he knows what is happening in the sector. He knows the sector is not producing, right? They're claiming, oh, they took off this tax, they moved away that, they did X, they did Y. Then why isn't the sector performing? Why is the mining sector showing a deficit in declarations? Why it is that? If you're also good for mining, if you ever make mining great again, if you take their proposition that mining was on the decline under the last government, but he excuses all of their interventions. He's saying it's a spate of bad weather. Did you hear that? It's the bad weather, right? It's the bad weather. And when it comes to the infrastructure aspect, the very same thing. So they promise roads from here to Timbuktu. Here again, he makes excuses. Oh, getting asphalt to some of the interior locations is difficult. It's easy for y'all to go make the promises though. Then difficult. Oh, getting asphalt to some of these areas is very difficult. Excuses. And then, I don't know if it slipped you, he said, Mr. Jagdeo, Vice President Jagdeo, who had the helm of this country for 12 years, his party had it for 23. Oh, some of these places never had roads. APNO do nothing in 5 years. APNO do nothing in 5 years. They had it for 23 before that. He himself had it for 12. Right? And Donald Ramachar was a puppet too. So you gotta give him Donald 5. Right? And plus he had it for the last 3. So those places that make the promises, oh, you have to get roads. Elect the PPP, you won't get roads. Oh, asphalt. It's difficult getting asphalt. Patience with us with the petroleum laws. Oh, some of these schools take 5 years. You see? And he has the nerve. A man who's been president for 12 years. 12 years. He got Mr. Janet presidency, plus he took 10. After that, 12 years. Oh, some of these places never had roads. It's that new fault. We only had it for 23. They had it for 5. Right? But it's that new fault. They never had roads. Did you hear that? Did you hear that? Alison Jones says she didn't say no changing bicycle. Right? Naomi Joker said it's laughable. You see? When we become dispassionate, because some of you, I know it's understandable, right? You all hate the goal, you all hate the politics. We don't hate people, we hate the politics. And so you sign them off. You sign them off. And we don't rebut enough. Some of the nonsense that they're talking. Oh, some of these places never had roads. So we've come now as the savior. That is PPP 101. That's it, classic PPP. Right? They create the environment. And then come and say, oh, same thing with the sugar industry. Same thing with the sugar industry. Their CEO in 2015, June 2015, told the nation, Kaisuko bankrupt. After 23 years of PP management, now everything is up new. Right? They had 3 years in there, not one sugar estate has reopened. He didn't talk about that. Crime is spiraling every day. He didn't touch on crime though. Right? You know why? You know he can't spend the light anymore with sugar workers. See him talk about sugar at all. All that the reopening and the recapitalize. He didn't touch on those issues. He didn't touch on those issues. That press conference was about excuses. Right? It's about excuse, and you heard it there for yourselves. Excuse after excuse. Oh, is the rain? Oh, is this? Oh, is that? Oh, is the next? You see? He talked about healthcare. Oh, there are some shortages, but it's XY. And you've had a chance to put it up for you. Oh, there are some shortages. Oh, APNU had major shortages and that. Unforgivable. Our shortages is a different shortage. These people write for Comedy Central. Folks, I think that's going to do it for us at this end this morning. That's going to do it for us this morning. That's going to do it for us. These people are more than laughable, more than laughable. Good to have each and every one of you here today. Going to see you guys back on the podcast today. It's Talkback Friday, and I'm looking forward to our time with you guys. So rock and come in with those voice notes. We're going to play. We don't like to take calls because we got the challenges of, when people are trying to call over somebody, the volume goes down and all of that. But rock and come in with those voice notes. We're going to have our podcast at 12, folks. We're looking forward to our engagement with you guys, and you guys are sure to bring back some of these issues. Be sure to bring back some of these issues. I'm sitting halfway on the chair, so you're seeing some of that at the other end. But guys, I want to encourage you to partner with us as well. We need your help. We need your help. We've been falling behind, and we don't see it easily. We don't like to beg, but it is what it is. You can partner with us so we can keep doing more programs like this via Cash App and Zelle and PayPal, MoneyGram, Western Union. We're open. We're open to receive via any one of these platforms. All for your convenience, of course, Zelle and PayPal, Cash App, MMG, MoneyGram, Western Union, any of these platforms. Thanks for joining us. Guys, stay safe and stay woke out there. Stay woke out there until we see you guys again. Stay woke. Good to see each and every one of you on the live. Good to see you guys on the live. Good to see you guys on the live. Stay safe. I have Natasha Congraves and Dwayne Collins, Edward Brooms, and also the absolutely corrupt. I believe you. Faye is here as well, and Donna too, and Bernadette. Good to see you, and Diane. Good to see you, Diane, as well. Have a great day, guys. Share the live before you go. Smash that emoji button before you go. Partner with us as well. Thanks for joining us. That's our time, and that's our program. Stay safe.